Okay, for the next keynote, we are glad to have Mehdi, the founder of the Apidays Global Conference. He will be talking about the API landscape from a global perspective. Okay, Mehdi, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you, Patrick. Hello, everyone.
Okay, yeah, your voice is also loud and clear. So I can see your screen is also okay. So I pass the stage to you first. Thank you.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. So yeah, great presentation by Dr. Charman. Actually, if you want to understand how APIs are part of this platform economy, this presentation is for you. And we will also discover the API industry landscape at all, how you will manage your API supply chain, in a sense, to be able to reach platform and ecosystem business models. So a little bit about me. I'm the founder and chairman of Apidays conferences. I've been running these conferences over the last 10 years. You can follow me on Twitter at Medjaoui, Medjaoui. And you can also check my latest publications. So a book about continuous API management, published by O'Reilly, this second edition. I also published 2 reports where I'm a co-author on application programming interface for governments. It's a European Commission report, or a report on GDPR data portability, like how you can make data portability without APIs according to data protection regulations. But today we're talking about the state of the API industry 2022. So it's a report we publish every year based on 1,000 companies. So you can just download it on apidays.global/industry-reports. So again, I will share the link after the presentation again, but the report with all the insights, you can have complete access for free on our website. And again, you can also check live the landscape. So if you go on apilandscape.apiscene.io, you will be able to browse the landscape I'm talking about, interact with it, click on different companies, search into companies in the API space, and yes, for now or for later. But again, everything we do is accessible openly, and you will be able to access this data when you will need to understand the industry. So the summary of the presentation, we will talk about a few topics. We will talk about the API mindset and how to understand the API landscape for the next 10 years. We will see about how regulation are enforcing the publishing and the use of APIs and why it affects the landscape actually on different sectors. The sector will be banking, healthcare, supply chain, insurance, and others. We will check also about API security and privacy, because it's a new category in the landscape with a new series of products. We will discover why. We will see also that APIs are also a new business layer of infrastructure with new API as a product model, and that are part of what we call the new technical stack. And we'll finish by a new trend that we see in large companies and even smaller companies, enabled by APIs, the no-code, low-code approach, and the citizen developers aspect. So this is what we will talk about, everything around the landscape of the 1,000 tools that compose the API industry. So for the next 10 years, let's have a look about how you need to be prepared for the landscape. So the first, I will give you 4 advice before we dive into the data. The first advice is an API is as much exposing capabilities as hiding complexity. Just imagine when you go to a restaurant and you check at the menu, you don't want to know everything that's available in the kitchen. You don't want to know every recipe the cook can cook. You want to see a selection that has been designed for you for a dining experience. So an API is like the menu of a restaurant. It's a selection of what the kitchen wants to expose, right? Versus what it wants to hide. You don't want to show complexity. You don't want to show too many choices to a user. You want to see a selection of what he can order, what he can get from your kitchen, so from your backend as a company. So it's extremely important to understand that there is a design approach. Of course, there's the platform economy, but when you design an API, you design a way to consume and use your data, right? And that's a projection for your user. So you shape your platform in a sense. I love this advertisement of Lego because this is for me the perfect representation. We build building bricks, which are neutral. It's a technology brick, a payment API, or SMS API, whatever, weather the data API and services. But people will see the shadow of it. When I build the weather API, maybe someone will build an insurance on top of it because You can ensure small businesses about the weather. If it's sunny tomorrow, ice cream shops will sell more, or if it's less sunny, ice cream shop will sell less. So you can even have different business models with the same data. So again, an API is as much exposing as much as hiding capabilities, right? Always remember, your user, you build a brick, but user will see a shadow of the brick and will consume it that way. The second advice I want to share is that embedded is a lot more superior than open. We've talked about open banking or opening APIs. Of course, you can open APIs to your ecosystem, but the goal is not just to be open. The goal is not to leave assets on the table. The goal is to be embedded. The goal is to include your assets into the customer experience of others, so you can reach their channels. There is a famous saying in the API industry, like say in the 2000s, you needed a website to be digital. In the 2010s, you needed a mobile application to embrace mobile channels. But in the 2020s, you need APIs to be in everybody else's website and in everybody else's mobile application. So now there is a horizontal colonization. And that's really the goal of being embedded, not just open. That's the idea of, if I cannot reach all the channels of a community, I will embed my capabilities into the channels of people who are reaching these communities, and then I will be able to reach them all. So you can see it as a really large distribution channel in the digital world. The third advice I want to share is that reuse is a lot more important than use, a lot more difficult. Consuming something as a customer is easy sometimes, but let's say reusing to generate value for someone else is extremely hard. And this is what happens with APIs. You will give access to someone who will not directly consume it for himself. He will consume it to build something for someone else. So there is a different step. And so you have to engage them into delivering value, right? It's extremely hard if they're not just consuming the value, they are adding value to what you're building. So there is often a saying, we say that developer experience is the first path to customer experience. So when you open APIs, you open APIs to developers in your partner's ecosystem that will have to understand how to deliver customer experiences on their side. So your developer experiences on your APIs is the start of the final customer experiences of the end user. But it's really hard to make other people use something. And this is how we've represented it here. So your API has an intrinsic value, but if the developer experience is too big to integrate it, like there is an integration overhead compared to the value, the integration does not happen, right? So you have to make, depending on the value of the capability you provide by APIs, you have to make a developer experience effort that is lower in terms of cost versus the value. So there is the potential of API integration, and then integration happens. So you always have to understand that I have interesting value, but if I make it too difficult to use, nobody will use it. I have to make it easier to use below this value level so people can integrate it. So it's a little bit like a supply chain, like the build versus buy. Over the last 100 years, supply chain industry has been doing that. Like, do I outsource because it's easier to outsource, or if it's too costly to outsource, I will build it myself. It's the exact same decision, but now at large scale with APIs. And so what I was saying about distribution channels, so this is an example of classic distribution channels like web, mobile, partner integrations, connected device, e-commerce integrations, whatever, supplier, ERP integrations. But now we can see what we call the long tail. So the long tail is most of the time really hard to address because you have diminishing returns. Every new channel is potentially smaller than the previous one. But the thing is, if you are able to address them all, sometime what may happen is that all third long tail channels cumulated can be actually larger and bigger than your main channels. And this is why APIs comes into the game. They are able to orchestrate these smaller channels, but they're smaller. Each of them is smaller, but accumulated, if you're able to orchestrate them as a platform, you can accumulate a lot more value. So let's remind that. And the last point before diving into the data is that don't think what the best business model for APIs, but what are the best APIs for your business model. I've seen an example of a bank who are trying to monetize APIs directly, and actually they shifted strategy because they found that having free and open APIs for a large ecosystem and marketplace was enabling them to have a lot of applications on their platform. And so people were signing up more to their banks versus another bank. So actually, APIs enable them to have the same business model, but at larger scale. The same business model of signing up people for account and mortgage and everything. So same business model, but enabled and scaled by an API ecosystem that enable a lot of applications. So sometimes monetizing APIs directly is not the best strategy. The best strategy is sometimes to keep the same business model, but scale by API strategy. And this is what Marshall van Alstyne, he's a researcher at Boston University and MIT, also co-author of the book Platform Revolution, has demonstrated in a paper. In this research, he found that companies who have B2B APIs, right, it's a study on 10 years, right, are able to have, I don't know if you can see it here, but 66% more of revenue in average versus the other, and a net income of 38% higher than the others, right? So just to tell you that actually it has been a success for many companies who have embraced APIs. And again, it's a study on hundreds of companies over 10 years, so it's not just a sample of questions. The drawback is that, of course, with APIs, you have new risks like data breach risk or whatever. So companies who have open APIs are likely to have more data breaches. So again, this is the drawback of being open and embedded. And you can see the relative to API adoption. So again, it's a little bit an economist graph, but let's say this is the comparison between companies who have of the same sector when they have opened APIs and embraced API strategy to their market versus others. So you can see there is a direct shift of value when companies have adopted and embraced API strategy versus the when they don't. So that's extremely important to consider. Like, yeah, there is a direct shift of value when an API strategy is embraced or not. And how we explain that, and again, I love it. So it's of course it's how we can revert the firm. The idea is that you have more people, more experts, more value outside the company than inside. So with APIs, you will be able to collect this value and accumulate on your platform, right? So just imagine if you want to scale your company, right? You have people and software, and you can be internal or external, right? So that's what you can see on the graph. So internal people are what we call employees, right? So that's the idea. This is the old model of building companies. But now, if you open your companies to external people, this is what we call the crowdsourcing, or using the crowd, or community-driven development. So that's, again, how you can scale the people. But if you have internal software that can work, so this is what we call software, algorithm, whatever. But if you want external scalability with software, right? So that's really the idea of scalability. This is where APIs come. So you can imagine as APIs are your external software capabilities to scale your companies, right? So I love this summarization that Marshall has shared with us in another talk. So let's dive into the data of the landscape. So after these 4 advice, I think you're ready to understand the landscape. Again, so the landscape is accessible on apilandscape.apicene.io, and it's the 1,100 tools that compose the API industry, right? All the tools you will need to develop, build, design, document, test, deploy, manage, and secure APIs, right? There. So again, it can remind you the supply chain, right? Like many tools for being up, and so that you can pick and choose for your delivering value. And actually, the landscape is composed into 5 sections. We have the first, which is the API lifecycle platforms. The second one is the backend building tools, right? Backend that enables you tools that enable you to build backends. The third one is the API as a product, or business process as a service. It's a sample of APIs which are just, or of product which are just APIs, and that are gathering a full business process in just one interface. The fourth one is the integration platform as a service, like how you can integrate different APIs on the same side. And the last one is the vertical API abstractions and API aggregators, like how you can maybe integrate 100 banks into just one API. So that's really the different part of the API industry lifecycle. All of this, so it's Crunchbase data, but all of this represent today 174 billion-dollar industry, mostly managed by EP lifecycle platforms. We've seen a lot of acquisition. You will see that later. And the second one is really the business process as a service, like, all these small business processes that are being now gathered into a product by APIs, and that are enabling to deliver new products. So what trends we can identify, right? The goal of this keynote is to share you these trends and takeaways we can get from the landscape. So the first one is that API management has become a commodity, leading to new open source growth. We can see that. So again, API management is still a growing industry, with a 27% compound annual growth rate. So it's still working well. Many sponsors of Apidays are actually of the API management space. But again, over time, it has become a community, and because of a lot of acquisition. So we've seen Broadcom, Google, IBM, Axway, Salesforce, Chipcode, Talent, Oracle, Microsoft, Perforce acquiring different startups and products over time. So let's say many software vendors have their own capabilities. So now it's kind of a commodity that enable open source opportunities. So you can see top open source companies like Kong, Gravity, Nginx, Solo, Tyke, WSO2, or Red Hat 3Scale. And that, this is why it was a community, that now there was the opportunity to make it open source. And you can see these open source companies are really trending, and that helped also a lot of adoption. So this is the first one we see, communitization, and new open source growth that also put API management more affordable to everyone. The second, another trend, the first trend we actually see is that because of this, of this API mindset, we see an explosion of tech regulation set to impact the API industry. So one of the first was in banking in Europe, like the Payment Service Directive 2. In Hong Kong, you have the Open API framework, and you have many regulations worldwide actually on banking that oblige companies to have APIs, right? They oblige companies to upload and publish APIs. So that's really a huge driver for adoption, and we can see this trend that will not stop, because it's not only banking, it's also healthcare. So with the HL7 and FHIR standard in the US, in Europe, or in Asia, many countries have now regulation obliging companies to open APIs in the healthcare industry. And it's not all healthcare, everything about personal data. For example, the GDPR or many other regulation obliging to manage data better, give data back to users, or enabling data portability, are obliging to open APIs also. So we can see that there's a lot of things there, and just in Europe or US or Brazil recently, some regulations are obliging to open APIs. One interesting is in Brazil, like it was for insurance. It was a regulation obliging insurance to open APIs. So again, another industry obliged to open APIs by regulation. The second trend is that because of this regulation, mainly, we see now industry-specific solutions. We see, so in the landscape, you will be able to see we have specific banking or finance or insurance dedicated section again. So because of that, we see direct specific solution for specific industries. And I also I call also for you to know the Open Insurance Initiative. So it's just a group of insurers who wants to set API standard for insurance. Again, because they understand that there may be regulation worldwide on the topic. Just an example of few things, like WSO2, an open source API management solution, received funding from Goldman Sachs, right? To build finance-specific API management. You can see other companies like Orsinsidia in Brazil, just for product for open insurance. So exactly what we're saying, new type of products for specific industries. The third trend we actually see is that API security is now a standalone product, right? And privacy is now the next differentiation maker. So over the last 7 years, you've maybe heard of the DevSecOps approach, like how we can have security checked earlier, but now APIs are definitely part of it, because before we publish an API, we have to check security earlier. And this is what VentureBeat called our API security arms race heating up. So now there are new threats, especially because of COVID. A lot of companies have put things online without really checking security. So now we have many endpoints, many what they call rogue APIs or shadow APIs that are not secured. And so it seems that current products are lagging, and because of the new threats. So we can see some recent company like Traceable, No Name, 42Crunch, Whip Security, Salt Security. All of them, they raised in total more than $300 million just in the last year to build a next generation of API security products. So that's really a new trend, and we can see that pure player into API security. And you can see that this is a sole security report, but again, like we can see, one of the most important things is about the sensitive data exposure. So again, that's more than almost 30% of companies consider that after vulnerability, sensitive data exposure is the most important. And again, this is where privacy comes into the game of the next generation of API products. The trend number 4 is that APIs are a new layer of business in tech infrastructure. I love this quote from the founder and CEO of Twilio. The world is getting broken down into APIs. Every part of the stack of business that a developer might need to build is eventually turning into APIs that developer can use. And this is, again, the same idea of the supply chain, right? You know, everyone will specialize into a small part of a product that someone will be able to assemble later. So again, in the landscape, we have almost that 400 tools on payment, telecommunication. We have invoice APIs. We have accounting APIs. We have like forms APIs, like many others. Again, that are just one business process, one part of the value of a large business, but actually orchestrated all together that can compose a business more easily with specialized products. So that's really the idea. And compared to SaaS, these API products are a lot more customizable, and you can build your own UI on top of it versus being imposed the UI by others. So some companies have been extremely successful on this, like Stripe, Twilio, Adyen, Plates, and Grid, Avalara, like just pure API product. But if your piece of infrastructure is used by everyone else, you are achieving large scale, right? So you are a specialist for payment or telecommunication. Just imagine like when you build tires for the whole car industry, like Goodyear or Michelin or others, like they're just one part of the stack, but they sell it to everyone. And again, because of that, we have a new open source standard like Open API Initiative, Open API Specification, Async API, gRPC, GraphQL, JSON Schema. So we have also a new stack of open standards that are enabling also to make this like digital API infrastructure more open and also more scalable. So we have the business on top, the tools, but also the standards. Last but not least, the trend number 5 is really the low-code approach, as we said. So it's tools you may know, like Zapier, Retool, or AppSheet. It's tools to enable what we call citizen developers to build applications. You know, APIs are made for developers, but not everyone in a company is a developer. But they may need to use the APIs to be able to mix them, orchestrate them, or build smart applications. And so we see this low-code approach, right, that is really booming. Just an example, in the US recently, there was a no-code day, right, to celebrate no-code. And we can see, like now, large companies are training their employees to be no-coder, like in a 3-month program to know how to build and compose APIs with tools that enable it to make it easier. And so like this, they're able to mix and make like small business applications, like, you know, with, for example, Google Sheets and CRM and forms to be able to do marketing small widgets without the need of developers. So that's a huge trend coming. And again, all powered by APIs behind the scenes. So when you will build APIs, think also about the citizen developers, how you can make your API so easy to use and integrate with others that people will be able to play with it with drag and drop or really simple interfaces. So that was it. Again, as a reminder, API management market is growing fast, but becoming a community, creating a lot of open source communities. Regulation enforcing and publishing the use of APIs are creating new opportunities in different industries that leads to specialization in API management in industry like banking, healthcare, supply chain, or insurance. Because of rapid post-COVID digitalization, API security is now a standalone market with standalone products on top of API management. So you will see a lot of API security vendors trying to be on top of your API management solutions. APIs are definitely a new business infrastructure for a new technical stack, right? So every product, every business process will be an API at some point. And last but not least, don't forget citizen developers when you build APIs, because they may be the next generation of your users, especially if you're really in a business-driven environment. Thank you very much. And again, you can see more details on API landscape.APIscene.io. Thank you, Patrick, for having me.
Okay, thanks, Mehdi. You got a perfect timing. So yeah, we don't have any time left for the Q&A, but it's a very fruitful and complete sharing. So if you are interested, feel free to go to the website to download the report, and also can reach out to the team to understand better. So once again, thanks, Mehdi, and thanks for your support to Apidays Hong Kong. Okay.
Thank you, Patrick. Good luck for everything. Thank you.